I've seen a surprising amount of lobbies recently with new players, more specifically ones not even above level 10. With that being said, I have something people with thousands of hours in this game don't have. 100 hours. But seriously, is that I'm new enough to the game that I can tell you guys everything I have learned and I see new players struggling with. Scouts, I'm talking to you. But that's only one of many things, and just saying to light up the caves doesn't help. Why are you lighting up the cave at some times and not others? Where should you shoot the flares for optimal lighting? How many should you use? These are things I can go in more detail in a scout specific guide. This video is for overall miscellaneous topics. In future videos I can go into more depth on classes and strategies, but let's get started with scout flares being our first topic. The scout is fun and intriguing with its grappling hook, but scouts who don't know how to play the scout can be really annoying, especially when they join high hazard games. But the point of this video isn't to bash on new players, the community loves seeing you guys. So how do you use the flare gun? First off, anytime your team enters a new dark cave, throw a flare out and upwards to give everyone an idea about how big the cave is. Flares are needed in places like those connector tunnels since you go right through them and hand flares do just fine. But if you can't see the top of the cave with a hand flare and you know you'll be there for some time, shoot the flare gun. If it's a small cave, great, you've now lit the entire cave up. If it's huge, also good. You lit a good portion of it and now everyone knows you'll be there for a while. If the cave is ever large enough that it gets pretty dark in some corners, feel free to set off some more flares. Too many is better than too few, just keep in mind how long you'll be there until you can resupply. This one should have been first, but the first had a better transition, so the second one is an extreme summary of the classes and their jobs. Scout. Single target damage, relies on others for fighting, but in combination with agility can wreak havoc. Can grapple to hard to reach places and lights up caves to gain the advantage of sight. Can half the mission time when played effectively. Engineer. Okay primaries, but secondaries can clear hordes, or do immense concentrated damage depending on upgrades. Platform gun provides support, makes bridges and closes holes. Turrets are great at crowd control, and are effectively an extra player. Driller. Primaries are pretty crap with single targets, but are very powerful against large groups and area denial. Secondaries aren't good for damage, but the plasma charger can be really useful for mining when you don't have a scout. Drills will allow you to go through terrain, allowing for shorter and safer travels from place to place. C4 can one-shot a large group of enemies, including yourself, as well as clearing out an even bigger hole. Gunner. Primaries are good for doing consistent damage against one or many enemies. They're usually inaccurate, so your secondaries are best for larger ranges and single targets. Your shield allows for breathing room in stressful situations, and your zipline lets the team stay off the ground or travel over long distances. Resupplies. This one can get as complicated or as simple as you want to, but here's really all you need to know. When you resupply, you gain 50% of your total ammo and health, meaning anything you have like grenades, guns, a flare gun, or even fuel will gain 50% of their total amount when you resupply. Well, what if your stuff has been completely wiped out to those swarms coming through left and right? Another one is coming and you know that 50% won't do. You need more. Ask. Unless there are less than 4 people in your lobby or there's more than one resupply pod, ask before double dipping. This is by far the most annoying thing a new player can do, as you're preventing a player from being able to defend themselves or help. Chances are, more guns at once is better than fighting a bit longer. Speaking of fighting a bit longer, let's talk about revives. It's easy to play a gunner as you can just throw down your shield on revive, but it's not so easy for everyone else. This one may not make much sense at first, but you don't always have to revive someone, and that means you don't have to be revived immediately too. Let people fight it out so that they're in a comfortable situation to revive you, and don't get angry if they don't. Don't worry about making amazing loadouts until you reach Hazard 5. When you do, test the loadouts in Hazard 5 only, since if it works in Hazard 5, it will work in all the lower difficulties as well. Hazard 5 loadouts will be suitable for deep dives when you eventually reach it. Always check the trade terminal when you load up the game. It If it's a sell deal, feel free to sell it if you have more of that resource than others. If it's a buy deal, you can never go wrong with buying it, but it tends to be wasteful if it's a resource you have a lot of. Even if you don't necessarily need to buy or sell a mineral then, it can be very helpful in the future that you took advantage of it from the start. Always have a mission selected. Personally, it gives direction for playing and it also gives nice goodies. Prioritize gun unlocks and promotions over them all, and also do the overclock one if you can, since having a stockpile from the start is also helpful. Fully upgrade the armor as soon as possible. It gives 15 extra health, and also upgrade the pickaxe since the power attack is really useful. Before any event in the game, like calling in a drop pod, starting oil extraction, or mining a heartstone, say R or ready in the chat, and wait until everyone is ready for you to start. I cannot count the number of times that someone started an event without asking. Half the team is unprepared, disorganized, and they don't have enough time to heal up or resupply. This one is for scouts and engineers. As an engineer, the scout depends on you to shoot a platform onto practically every ore deposit that isn't close to the ground. Whenever you enter a room, span the crap out of platforms and make sure that they have enough room to grapple onto. As a scout, it is your duty to mine all of these resources so your team doesn't have a massive deficit. Of course, in the middle of a wave or event, you don't need to be mining, but you are the primary resource gatherer of the team.
Did I hear a rockin' stone?
Rockin' stone back.
You boys better be better miners than you are dancers.
The laser pointer is extremely helpful. Obviously, it helps the communication, but also, just tap the respective key for the pointer and you can know where everyone is without looking at the map. You can also make a waypoint by pressing R while holding the pointer. Speaking of which, you can use the map to view these waypoints along with any player, objective structure, gems, the mule, and more. Also use it when digging through dirt blockages, and press space to align your character's view with the map. Freezing small or flying enemies will instantly kill them. The drill dozer's speed depends on the number of players near it. Make sure in the drill dozer missions that you do not get distracted and start going and exploring caves until the drill dozer stops, because you can always go back and explore those caves later. Lastly, read the miner's manual. It goes over everything you need to know, maybe not the best at times, but is essentially an in-game wiki. Many people overlook it, but it's extremely helpful. With the miner's manual, learn the very basic weak points of enemies. Also, frozen enemies receive extra damage and have no weak points. So, that's about it for some things that may not be obvious but are very important things to know in Deep Rock. In the future, I think I'll make some guides for the individual classes and go into depth on strategies and tactics for them, but also do some guides for all the mission types. But as for now, this should suffice and be a good tester to see what the next guides will be like. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Hopefully this helps someone out there because I know it would have helped me, and...
Extraction commencing. Good work.
If you don't rock and stone, you ain't coming home.